Can Russia and China win a war? The countries that fought together in World War II later split into two superpower allies after the war. What we later saw was a race to prove whether the United States or the Soviet Union was more stronger. The first thing that is needed is to eliminate competition between these superpowers. We all thought the Cold War was almost over with the fall of the Soviet Union. But the Cold War still remains as cold. The Soviet Union collapsed in front of American strategies and was divided into many countries. But even before that, they had begun to devise another weapon against the American alliance. That weapon is fully equipped today. That was their biggest trap. The United States and its allies fell completely into that trap. Perhaps if the Soviet Union had not been dismantled, American influence would be completely gone at this stage. That is why Russia was able to attack Ukraine with such confidence. Despite Ukraine being an ally of the United States and backed by NATO, Vladimir Putin did not think twice about invading Ukraine. After the Second World War and even now, most of the countries in the world are supporters of any one of the two superpowers. The United States will, directly and indirectly, try to disintegrate the Russian presence in each region. Similarly, Russia will also try to prevent American interference. It has caused damage to many countries in the world. Ukraine is the most recent example of this. All the people of these countries are suffering because of this. The people of Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan are victims of this. If this continues like this, it will affect many countries. It is because of the rivalry between these two superpowers that terrorist activities have become so powerful. Russia will encourage separatists in countries where America has influence. They will be helped by providing necessary weapons, etc. Similarly, the United States will operate in the Russian sphere of influence. This will make the separatists stronger. Now separatists are strong enough to take over even the governance of countries. This will further strengthen terrorist activities. The people of Europe and America are suffering the consequences the most. Terrorists see Western countries as their main enemy. This is because separatism is mostly linked to religions. Therefore, the Western world is more cautious. A terrorist attack can happen anytime, anywhere. Separatism is now spreading to more countries. If a nuclear power country like Pakistan falls under separatists, it will put more pressure on the world. So we have to start efforts to eradicate separatism now. We can also stop terrorist activities like those in Syria and Iraq with the help of artificial intelligence. It is enough for other countries to decide for themselves. America and its Western allies were far ahead economically and technically. But the Soviet Union's allies were not so strong. Therefore, if there was a war, the Soviet Union would have been defeated. Therefore, the Soviet Union wanted to strengthen its allied countries also. The most effective country they got for that was China. China's manpower and land size were very favorable to them. Direct intervention by the Soviet Union in China would never have been effective. Therefore, the Soviet Union took the position of helping China only indirectly. A situation was been created where development activities in China are carried out by China itself. Despite being an ally of the Soviet Union, China was favored by the United States and its allies. It would have been thought that keeping China in would put more pressure on the Soviet Union. China's friendship with the US and the Western Bloc was tacitly approved by the Soviet Union. China has grown economically, militarily, and technologically with the blessing of the United States and its allies. China is now an enemy of both the US and the Western Bloc. Had the Soviet Union not collapsed, American infallibility would have ended entirely. I understand the rise of China as a trap set by the Soviet Union to catch up with equality with the Western powers. Now the Eastern Bloc has also become a much better power. They made themselves the weapon against them and gave it to Russia. That is why the United States is not able to react more strongly against the invasion of Ukraine. But something happened that Russia never expected. It is a natural law to keep the world in balance. So, another country in the region emerged technologically and militarily on its own. India is that country. India is also rich in manpower and land area. India has acquired the ability to deter China. But since India is a neutral country, it maintains friendly relations with Russia. But China is already hostile towards India. Therefore, China cannot interfere more in this area. Otherwise, China would have followed the steps of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and would have been about to invade. Japan's presence in the region is another important factor. Japan has a tradition of defeating Russia and China in direct combat. Even during World War II, Russia was preparing for a war against Japan in the last period only. And that was only when they reached the threshold of failure. China also escaped from Japan only because of American help. Otherwise, Japan would have completely subjugated China. Now China is not just holding the military capabilities as World War II. China is now one of the most powerful military powers in the world. We cannot clearly understand Japan's current military strength and war potential. Because until a few years ago, Japan's military was restricted from engaging in overseas operations. Therefore, we do not know what miracle is hidden in their military power. Therefore, if there is another war, the positions of Japan and India will be important. It is because of this situation that China is not ready for an invasion. China can only scare the surrounding countries. If there is a war, China will lose completely. Russian aid will not be available to China. Because it would pave the way for American intervention. Then it will turn into a great war. In that case, Russia's allies will lose. Because Russia can only defend the Western Bloc. By that time, India and Japan will completely subdue China. If China tries to attack Japan, India's advance cannot be stopped. Likewise vice versa. If China attacks India first, Japan will easily subdue China. This will gradually lead to the defeat of Russia. Therefore, China's hostility between India and Japan will keep China still on the defensive. This will keep the war off for a while at least. But China is leading the world to a more dangerous situation. China already claims many areas in the region. If China also makes such a move, the region will become more complicated. It might lead to another world war. A world war, in which the separatists are gaining strength, and when it's all together, will be irretrievably trapped. It is up to the people of the superpower countries and their allies, to understand this and make a decision. Our future does not lie in deciding which is the most powerful country in the world. What we need to do is mold a beautiful earth where everyone can live peacefully. The perception of viewing a particular country as a superpower must change. Many countries today are superpowers. The technologies hidden by many countries are unknown to other countries. Therefore, if there is a world war, it cannot be said how much destruction it will cause. So we all should get rid of the wish of a superpower country and become a society. When that happens, we will be able to eradicate the separatists in society. No separatist manufactures its own weapons. He is helped by the gentlemen of the daytime only of the society. They have no obligation to society. They will be honorable in front of others. We have to take the help of artificial intelligence to control such people. This is just a discussion in our book Evolution to the Superhuman and Prison-less Community of the Type 1 Civilization. In this book, we discuss how to build a sustainable human society. We are about to enter the next phase of evolution. Then all the energy we need will become freely available to us. This will accelerate the growth of our technology tenfold. So this book mainly discusses how we should change socially and culturally under the new circumstances. If you wish to read this book, the link is available in the description box.